Hello, good morning. It's Sunday, April 24th. How's it going? Today, I would love to say that I'm going to talk about something different, but I'm probably not. I do talk about this on the website, which is www.reademreaptarot.com. I do have a blog. I do tarot readings. I do channeling and Reiki, all in the same session. That information is on there too, if you're interested. In the manifesto, which I talked about one or two episodes ago, I discuss the problems with binary thinking. So, what is binary thinking? What is being binary? Being binary means you only think that there are two things, two options, two solutions, two things present to begin with. Right, wrong, black, white, male, female, good, bad, and that's all there ever is. That's what a binary thinker is. Somebody who thinks there's only two. So ideally, when someone says to you that they're non-binary, my hope is what they mean by that is they understand that there's more than that. They're not just saying, I'm neither, and that's it. That's not what it means. It means I'm more. It means I don't fit into this socially constructed ideal of what male-female is. I don't fall into either of those categories in terms of that construct. And it can mean a lot of other things too. There's not even a good, like, it would be really silly of me, wouldn't it, to be like, here's the only two answers for what it means to be non-binary. So what it means is you understand that there's more than two. That's more or less it. But as I practice my own non-binariness, if you will, I find that I get super frustrated with people who think in the binary, who really honestly think that there's only two solutions or whatever. And I've always been like that. I've always been a person who's like, there's other perspectives that can be considered. And I guess I'm just here to let you know that in case you didn't know. And to also let you know that in most cases, and I'm sure someone can come up with a reason about how this is not applicable to this scenario, to which I would say, well, then I'm not talking about that scenario. In most cases, the problem and the solution lies in getting a different perspective. So it's not about changing the thing you think is a problem, it's about changing how you look at the situation. First, stop calling it a problem. It's a problem for you. Doesn't mean that it's a problem in general. So that's the thing to look at, is why are you reacting to the thing in such a way that it's now a problem? You have the opportunity to rise above that thought process and go, okay, let's look at all the things. Let's look at all the things at play in this situation. And you probably discover there are other elements involved that you have control over, that you can implement as a start. Sure, in the end, if you try absolutely everything that there is to be tried and had and seen and perceived and removed and replaced, and you've done everything you can possibly think of and then some, and it's still not working, that's fine. At least you've done everything, right? I'll give an example. So there's a huge bug in my window. I find that in most jobs that I've had, even if I fall in love with them at the beginning, by the end, I am deeply bothered by what I perceive to be a great many gaps in the system and an unwillingness to do anything about them, other people's unwillingness, because I am very willing to fill in the gaps but I am very rarely the person for the job. So just because I can see it and identify it and point it out, and maybe even come up with a solution or several, it doesn't always work out. So, I mean, that could just be something as simple as that's what it's like working. Welcome to work. I don't love that. I don't think it has to be like that. Excuse me. And at the same time, it's a really good practice for me to let stuff go and not be bothered by it. Just be like, why am I bothered by this? It's hard. It's hard. So like right now I work in a middle school, and if you know, you know, middle school is hard. Regardless, you know, in a good year it's hard. This has been a bad year for school. And middle schoolers are like literally hormone crazed feral children in makeup and false eyelashes. Like, it's the weirdest thing I've ever experienced in my life. How savvy these kids are, but they're still 12, 13, 14, you know what I'm saying? They're like average 13. But the girls look like they're 20 because they're all did. Their mugs are beat. They've got false nails. They've got eyelashes. They've got piercings. And they have some comprehension, right? Some savvy comprehension above and beyond what we did when we were that age. But they're still 13. And they still have these very 13-year-old approaches to things. And in terms of being a person who explores why people are resistant to things, the universe has a very weird sense of humor. And it was like, oh, you want to look at that? Okay, I'm going to put you in the densest population of people who are resistant across the world, which is middle schoolers. So the struggle I find, it's actually a spiritual struggle because, well, aren't most things, for me, I am a person that always wants to fix the problem. It is not always my job to fix the problem. In fact, I would say that it's rarely my job to fix the problem. And even if it is my job to fix the problem, I find that people are resistant to doing what needs to be done to fix the problem. People just like to bitch and moan and complain and be indignant about what they think is going on so they can feel justified in being right. And for me, I will say self-righteous indignation is my resistance. Like, across the board, I think it's almost always that. I'm always like flared up. Now, I don't walk around like that all the time, but when I do get like that, what is occurring is my self-righteous indignation button has been pressed, and oh, how dare they, and who are they to do that, and I do so much, and or whatever the thing is. And it's getting better. It's easier, obviously, since I know now that that's what it is. Easier, is it 100%? Like, can I pivot 100% of the time? Like, the minute I acknowledge it? No. It takes a minute. In some cases, it takes a couple days. But awareness is good, and awareness is key, right? So for you, I'm gonna crack, sorry. Let's talk about you for a second. What are things that bother you, that come up for you, that are constant? What are things that constantly happen for you in your work, in your life? And can you recognize that you are the common denominator in your life? So, again, in most cases, if you're the common denominator, you're the one that has to change to make the situation And yes, sometimes you can. I mean, not sometimes, a lot of times. That's actually a very viable solution. It just sounds a little asinine when I say it like that. That's why I'm making fun of myself. Okay, so back to my job at my school. So there's a bunch of nonsense happening at the school in addition to the nonsense that's happening across the board. And the adults who work there just talk about it constantly. And it's a lot of bitching and moaning and complaining. And it's exhausting. It's actually more exhausting than dealing with the kids who are bitching and moaning and complaining. And I don't actually want anything to do with it, even though it can be fun, and sometimes I'm heard, and some people agree with the solutions that I have. It doesn't mean that they're going to get implemented, and it doesn't mean that we need to keep talking about it. At least not ad infinitum, like with no goal in sight, no actual plan of action, right? I need liquid, excuse me. So, I don't want that to be my job, avoiding people, avoiding those conversations. But that's where it's at right now, and I have to figure out if I want to keep doing that, if I really want that to be my job. What do you do for a living? I avoid negative conversations and deal with people's resistance. Ironically, yes, if it fell under the category of I work for myself, people come to me for help, they're receptive to the help, and it is of benefit to both parties, emotionally, financially, spiritually, because that's what I really want. That's what I would really like to do, is make a living doing this, honestly, making a living sharing what I've learned, guiding people to where they need maybe to go or could try to work on themselves, because it's all about that, right? You got to work on yourself. I can't really do anything for you, and neither can anyone else. You got to do it. I got to do it. Some people are farther along than others in that scenario. I get that, and I would love for people to hear me when I say there's a lot more solutions than just the two that you've come up with. And have them hear me. And be interested in that, right? Be like, oh, that's interesting. Let's think about that. What can I do? How can I think bigger, That brings me a lot of joy when people are receptive and it helps them. But you got to be receptive. I got to be receptive to my own stuff, right? And I'm super resistant to resistance. Oh, it makes me mad, which is silly. It's quite silly. I gotta find a way to have it make me laugh or something, because otherwise it takes me out. It does. And that's not what I want. I want to be able to move around it, pivot, get a different perspective, rise above it, use the tools. So I think that's it. I just want you to know that you have more options than you think you do. There are more solutions than you think there are. There are more perspectives to be looked at, and they're very close. Perspectives to me look like there's a bunch like this. These are all different perspectives, like a circle with spokes, and each spoke is a perspective, and they're very close to each other. And that's just it. Maybe you just need to pivot just a little bit to shed some light on one aspect of the thing you're looking at that you just hadn't considered or were unwilling to consider. So That's my thought for today, and I hope it's useful, and I hope you're well. And I will put, heck, maybe I'll just put the whole manifesto down below. Maybe I'll just do that. In any case, thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye.